Right.
Yeah, we are.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Microsoft 365 Pulse. We have the whole crew this week. So excited to give you the short list of updates. It is not a very long list this week. So we're going to jump right in. I'll take one and then I'll pass it. We're going to do in development first. This is what is getting worked on, getting either developed, getting deployed very shortly, small to a small number of people getting deployed. They're working on it. It's not available to everyone, but coming soon. So one that we've got is Microsoft Viva Connections, manage your organization's brand in the new brand center. So introducing new branding and management capabilities that you can improve your consistency across Viva Connections desktop, mobile, and tablet experiences. Calendar year March 2024. So that's good. Should be coming soon. And that is coming to, let's see, just the standard worldwide tenant, so enterprise. That's good. They've already released some brand manager stuff for other things. So it's at least got consistent terminology. So let's see if brand manager means the same thing that brand manager means. So excited to see those changes. I'm pretty sure it probably does, but excited to see those changes coming up. And I will pass it to Tamara and she can tell us what she's excited about.
I have a delighter.
Yay! I love delightment.
Microsoft Teams' ability to duplicate an existing webinar to simplify event creation. I am so excited about this.
When I read this, I was like, this has Tamara all over it.
It does. It does. In fact, they just should name it Tamara. So organizers can schedule a new webinar by duplicating information from an existing scheduled one. This includes duplicating information such as details, presenters, theming, and more. The organizers can also edit and update the information as needed for the new event. Because basically all I have to do is change the date for an event.
And probably
but no, right now I've got to go through and rebuild the whole thing.
Well, for people who don't know why you would love that, give a scenario of when you'd use that.
Sure. We schedule a 7.5-hour workshop for a client, and we offer it twice a month. Instead of holding it in their environment, we're holding it in our environment because we have webinars. So the webinar allows people to sign up on their own. You can set a limit for the number of people who can attend. It creates a website where you can put all the information about the webinar on it, like what are the prerequisites, what application should you be using, minimum of 2 monitors, 1 to follow the instructor, 1 to do your own work. If not, use 2 computers. So having all that information together and having the registration process managed by a system is just dreamy. Because otherwise you're going into your Teams meeting, searching for the person, deleting that person, adding a new person. It's all going back and forth by email. This way, everybody just manages it on their own. And if people need to cancel, they just go into their appointment and they cancel it, and it registers on the webinar and then opens up another spot, and the next person who tries can get in.
That's great. That's great. Thank you.
I love this.
I love that. Tom, what do you have this week?
I'm going to do 3 because they're all kind of combined and partly because I just love the description. This is another one where they hired a really good writer to describe this thing. The first one is SharePoint, introducing custom fonts in SharePoint. Description being, fonts are more than just letters and symbols, and we've heard you. Okay, that is
Technically,
awesome.
It's not more than just letters, numbers, and symbols.
Hey, it's a feeling, Tamara.
Work
a feeling.
With
a font is a feeling.
It's an experience.
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm just a recent convert into user interface design, and that it should be pretty and.
Okay. Yeah. So
I'm like, it works.
Since you're still new for this, let's
Steve
assume
Jobs
that they
so
know what they're talking about here. We're bringing font customization to your SharePoint and View Connection experience with the Brand Center. Express your personality, style, and brand by adding custom fonts to your sites and related experiences. That's coming out in March. This is followed by create themes for SharePoint in Brand Center. Bringing a new theme creation experience into Brand Center, allowing you to easily create and manage themes for your sites and related experience. Now let's have the third one, which is customize your individual sites and experience with fonts and themes. Is there a trend here? Yes, site owners will now be able to create branded fonts and themes for their sites and experiences in the Brand Center by combining the brand assets that the organization provides or by creating their own. So basically,
so every site I can go to can have a different font. Oh, who's going to be the first one to change it to Wingdings?
Oh, I wasn't going to go with Wingdings. I was going to go with Comic Sans. Please, just not Comic Sans, folks. Come on.
You know how you know that I've been an IT admin for too long?
Yo.
I read this and I imagine a scenario of some C-level staff has decided there's this new custom font that he loves that no one in the company or any customer you ever send anything to has that font. So they send it over and they get an error that they don't have the font, and now it's your job to fix. Okay, cool. Now I have to send an email that here's this custom font that our CEO really wants to use. Here's how you install it on your. Yeah, that's all I hear when I read this.
This needs to be done yesterday. Yes. So yeah, it's one of those things that this is cool if you want to get more customization. This also kind of introduces the just because you can doesn't mean you should element of things. So yeah, great. Yeah, like the idea. Yeah, please don't try to abuse this. But yes, those three together, I think, make for an interesting experience coming up with site design.
I'm just the type of person that would change the font on my site every little bit that people are going into it just to see if the team notices. How do I know you're going into the site? Because I'm changing the font all the time. Is anyone complaining?
Although, but to be fair, there's this, even if I was checking the site, there was a 0% chance I would recognize that.
It's Halloween. We're going to change everything to Gothic.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there are people that would, but I am not. That level of detail wouldn't register. I'd recognize that the content changed, but the font is just.
Yeah, if you went from Arial to Aptos, I'd probably think, okay.
Yeah, unless you did Wingdings or something, I'd have no idea.
Then that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And yes, if you did go from Aptos to Gothic, yes, I would probably notice it.
I'm not even sure I would notice that. To me, it'd just be oh, this looks nice.
Oh, okay. Well, let's toss this over to Adam for what Adam would like.
Jen or Tamara, either you guys have anything else you want to talk about? I have several admin nerdy things.
The only other thing is that ability to duplicate an existing event is also applying to town halls. So the webinars in the town halls, you'll be able to duplicate. Not a Teams meeting.
One that I put, and the reason I put this is because I feel like whenever they mess with this, this is going to get help desk calls. And it's just because you're moving somebody's cheese. So Outlook, the global address list updates in the new Outlook for Windows and Outlook on the web, we're making some adjustments to the gal search and browse experience. Users will be asked to type in more characters to refine their search in some cases. There will be other visual improvements in error messaging. Another way to find recipients is by using the suggestion drop-down picker. Note, we have updated the status in the release to reflect the current status. So February of 2024.
I like the ending note there. Someone moderately high up at Microsoft got reamed into by some important customer because the roadmap for this item wasn't updated properly. Because when do they ever have a note? We have now updated the date to reflect it properly. We're sorry for any inconvenience.
Right, probably because it either said way before or way later.
Yeah.
But if the gal is going to change, people are going to. Well, I'm just saying, if people can't find people in Outlook, we're going to have
the
problems.
thing is, if I'm sitting there going, okay, I normally send something to Duff, and I type in DU, and Duff ends up popping up right away, or DUF, and it pops up. Well, all of a sudden, I'm going to be typing DUF, and it's going to look at me and? Oh, I need another F in there. Now we'll give you some suggestions. I can see where that's going to throw some people where it doesn't behave quite the same. Well, what's different? I don't know. It just doesn't work the same as it used to. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's in what I don't like is it's in some cases, well, sometimes it works the way it used to work, but
Right.
now, so it's going to be one of those ones that you have to watch for. It may be something that we never ever notice, or it may be something that every director and above gives you a call. It's going to be one of those two. I'm just saying. So that was my big one.
Yeah, I have a couple easy ones. I'm gonna point out one that I also thought was just kind of funny. I think this is an important update, but similar to I laughed at the ending wording of Jen's where they said, like, here's a new update, we apologize. They're coming up with rewording related to DLP policy violations. So, if you're working in a tenant that has DLP rules and the system realizes that you have something in your document that will not let you send it externally, and you're trying to go through and do that. Well, when you start typing up an email, it will give you a warning telling you, hey, this is something that's going to violate DLP, it won't do it. They're basically changing that wording. And this is specifically what they said, which I thought was funny. Users will soon receive a more gentle policy tip nudge to review recipients and content before sending the email. I guess they decided it was too harsh before, too direct.
The answer is still no, but we're going to break it to you gently.
Yeah, so I just thought that was kind of funny because it's a more gentle policy tip nudge. And then I had a couple others. I was surprised, Tom, you actually didn't mention this one, but stream pay-as-you-go transcriptions.
I did have that highlighted, but go for it.
Yeah, so if you have videos listed out and you want to give translation options, they've had this type of option available for stream in a little bit, but how it basically now works is you can produce the video, then basically give your users the option to translate the video, and all you have to do is basically leave a credit card on file that says I'm willing to pay for your AI to go through and do this for me. And when users do it, it's basically on-demand translations that you'll get charged for, which again, for certain country-based or multi-geographic-based organizations could be super cool. And
or
then
if you're putting videos out for external use, and it happens to be, you're trying to speak to a Spanish population, but the thing was done in English, I can see where you might want to have that then done to Spanish and have some sort of translation there. So makes sense.
One of my previous companies had a really large presence over in Japan. And so they would make content in English, but need it translated to Japan. And they had a whole team that they paid to do this. Wow. And so the fact that you have stuff that you could potentially start to leverage AI and some solutions to do that, pretty cool. You probably still want to have someone proofreading it if you're sending it out to several hundred people in Japan. But still, the fact that you potentially that's a cost-saving way is cool.
One person proofread as opposed to multiple doing it.
Yeah. The other thing is people that were saying maybe the primary language is your second language, they could translate it into their own language. So,
for sure.
Like a self-service type thing for your own personal, it's a good accessibility thing there.
And then I had two other ones. One I just thought was kind of neat. So you guys probably know by this point that I started an email. So they're now going to start actually letting you add shared mailboxes as their own accounts in Outlook. Right now, if you want to go in and add a shared mailbox, you basically have to set up a profile with your email account, and then you add in the shared mailbox, and it'll show up in the bottom left as an extra mailbox that you have access to. But again, if you've been doing it for a long time, you might be comfortable with that. But honestly, I prefer the OWA experience right now, which is you go to open up another mailbox that you have access to, and it literally opens up a separate browser tab that's just that mailbox. This is essentially going to allow you to do the same thing in Outlook. Is you'll be able to set up an account where the credentials you're going to have to use to sign into the account are still going to be your credentials, but it'll basically be its own independent mailbox. So let's say that we're all on a small company together and there's a sales mailbox that several of us work out of. You can leave that as its own separate entity that you log into and work out of, and not have this be this sub thing that you're managing inside your own mailbox, which again, I just thought that was cool. And then the final one, I just wanted to note this because I think this is probably a trend we'll see moving into the new year. Obviously, when we talked about some of the updates of the last couple of months, Copilot's been big. That was 80% of Ignite we're going through talking about it. Yeah. But they basically said, so I've talked a lot on the updates because a lot of their developments in the security framework section have been related to what we've talked about being communication compliance. And that goes into some of the internal stuff of looking for people that are using misogynistic language or sexual harassing someone or cursing someone out or whatever. It's basically internal policing of what's going on in your organization in a way that you can monitor using the tools you are to make sure inappropriate stuff isn't happening. They're basically refining that to bring it into scope of also considering Copilot. So the idea is basically being, if your organization is using Copilot, it can start going through and checking the information that's being generated by Copilot as well, to also make sure, because Copilot is just a generated chat text, right? And so you could, in theory, get Copilot to go through and say terrible things or do terrible things as well too if you give it the right prompts. So basically, it's going to start including their models and expanding their models to include the information that's being generated by Copilot in your organization to also be in scope of this internal communication compliance stuff.
So the robots are going to monitor the robots?
Yeah, they're basically, it's gonna go through and do that, and then it will also identify to you if it's being done through the AI service. But again, I expect to see more updates like this across the board throughout the next year, as they're basically bringing up some of their additional security and compliance policy tools in line and in scope to also
It's
work
all that
properly with
responsible
Copilot.
AI.
Yep.
It's being responsible when they deliver AI, so that makes a ton of sense.
100%.
Well, cool. Moving on to rolling out, there are two. Who wants to cover any of them? Does anyone care?
I'm good.
I would say I'd take one, but Tamara always likes to take the Visio stuff, so I'll leave that for her.
Tamara don't need that. Yeah, we're all good.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and mention it.
So the
then.
summary is nothing's rolling out.
Right.
Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, Visio, containers in Visio for the web. Visio Plan 1 and Plan 2. Containers are a powerful tool for organizing and managing complex diagrams. Users with a Plan 1 or Plan 2 license will be able to use containers in Visio for the web to create professional-looking diagrams that are easy to understand and navigate. Not being a person who uses Visio for much of anything, I can't tell you what containers are, but you're going to like them, and you're going to have them in Visio Plan 1 and Plan 2.
Too silly.
That was
All
an
right.
enthusiastic update there, Tom.
Thank you.
Thanks
you
for
very
being
much.
there. Well, launched, we have a couple for launch, but not too many. The one that I'll talk about is the Webinar Graphs API. This is just an API that's going to let you get information around attendees' names, duration, registration, different things like that. That's great if you're trying to build an app, something along those lines. So that has been launched, and that's the one that I thought was interesting. How about you, Adam? What do you think is interesting and launched?
I'll do a very nerdy compliance one, just because that's the stuff that I think is kind of cool. So the concept of an active mailboxes has been around for a while. And an active mailbox is a mailbox that is disconnected, but you're keeping around because it's under legal hold or something like that. Well, so now, previously when you did this, exchange in an active mailbox was its own thing. So let's say that, Tom used to work for my company, won the lottery and left, but legally I have to keep Tom's correspondence. His mailbox would stay as an inactive mailbox once I unlicense him. So that way I could still do e-discovery searches against him and legal searches and stuff like that. Well, now it's also going to extend that out to Tom's OneDrive in this example, to where OneDrive is also going to be included if the same type of stuff in his OneDrive is being retained by the same mechanisms, whether it's a legal hold or retention policy or what, it's keeping around that data. It's going to tie those two together to make it easier for the people that's going through and searching to find the content that they need. Just cool.
Maybe they'll merge one time, Outlook and OneDrive, and they can be called like OutDrive, OneLook.
I mean, they're kind of trying to do that with groups, right? Groups is essentially the manifestation of all the services in one.
Tom's like, no, Jennifer.
Single looking
OutDrive.
one notebook drive.
It'll just be called Defender for Microsoft, and it's everything
there you
Microsoft
go.
does.
I love it. Tom, what do you
Copilot
like
Defender
in
for
launch?
Microsoft.
Well, you took the only one I had highlighted, so I have nothing to say, and I'm just sitting here slipping into a deep, dark depression. So just never mind me. I'll just sit here.
Well, I'm so sorry.
No,
Just
you're
go
not.
ahead and swim in your tears.
First I took the
Tamara,
Stream translation
Tamara, what do
one.
you have?
I'm good.
I have nothing.
There's nothing that gets me
All right.
excited and launched.
Well, sorry guys, there's just not that much launched. But usually when it's slow one week, it picks up another. So maybe next week we'll be back with more updates. But thank you for joining us this week.
In development was pretty robust.
Well,
Yeah,
it
they had
was-
some good stuff in
it was pretty
development,
good.
Mhm.
especially if you like fonts. But
And
can you
themes,
put a
and fonts
golden
and
font
themes.
on a golden folder?
Oh God, no! Don't even go there. Close us out, Jen. Close us out.
Bye, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye
Bye.
now. Thanks.
Oh.
Oh.